Welcome everybody to this webinar. So there's two parts to the webinar itself. The first part is going to be talking about wound clot and trauma with Octavo. He will be starting the lesson very shortly. And then the second part of it is going to be about the new HeartHero AED. And James from HeartHero will be along for that one as well. He does have another meeting beforehand, but he should be here in time for that. So hopefully that will all go through. But that'll be after this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through the main presentation here. I'm just going to quickly share this slide. Get the right thing. So yeah, so we're just going to run through the first bits and we're going to look through any questions you have. If you put them through in the question icon, so at the bottom you'll see a little question mark. You can just tap on that and you will be able to put any questions. At the end of the module, so after Octavo's done his talk, we'll then put the questions to him, and similarly at the end we'll do that as well. And also what we'll do as well is after the main presentation we'll talk about some of the offers we have with it. So we're going to be running through with some offers on wound clots, some offers on HeartHero, and also at the very end there's just one other thing, as there's a lot of instructors watching. We also have just to talk about the new allergy awareness and Benedict's Law training courses for the instructors out there. That would just be a little model at the very end, just to take a couple of minutes, just to let you know what's coming with that. But if we can start off now, if I can hand you over, Octavo, so let me know. Do you want me to go straight into the PowerPoint?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Keith. I'm Octavio Cazares. I'm the clinical educator, clinical coordinator for Core Scientific. So I do all the teaching for Woundclot. Today, we're going to cover what Woundclot is and its capabilities and how it's different to everything else that's out there. Go ahead to the next slide. So again, we'll cover what is Woundclot, its indications for use, its basic instructions for application, its differences to other products out there, and really, again, as Keith mentioned, send your questions. Please, if there's something on your mind that we'd like for me to answer or address for you, please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know. Next slide, please. So we're going to jump right into it. What is wound clot? Wound clot is a non-oxidized, non-regenerated cellulose structure, or what we call a non-RCS. There are other cellulose-based hemostatics on the market. As a matter of fact, cellulose is the second oldest hemostatic technology on the planet, second only to bone wax, and of course, cautery, which was developed during the medieval times, right? Bone wax has been used since the 1800s. And then you fast forward to the Second World War, where they developed something called oxidized regenerated cellulose. Oxidized regenerated cellulose strictly is a material that is raw cotton, raw wood. Neither of those materials are readily absorbent in their natural state. They oxidize the materials. They expose them to a very strong acid to soften the material so they can absorb fluid. The problem is whenever you oxidize any material, whether it's cotton, cellulose of any kind, or certain materials, when you apply acid to them, what happens? You destroy them. In this instance, it's a controlled oxidation, and it softens the material so that it can absorb fluid like blood, but you also inherently damage its molecular structure. So you end up with something that's inherently weak. Which is why you'll never see an oxidized regenerated cellulose being used in a pre-hospital point of injury environment. They're kind of relegated to surgical applications. Wound clot is made from cellulose. It's made from 100% cotton gauze. What you see there in the picture is very much what it looks like when we start the process. It's just a big roll, 1 meter wide, 100 meters long. We put it through a process that changes the molecular structure of the cotton. So we found a way to manipulate the structure of the material itself and not adding an active ingredient, which is very different to what's out there right now for hemostatics. This molecular manipulation also imbues the material with multiple mechanisms of action as opposed to a single mechanism, which is how most other hemostatics work on the market today. What you see in the picture is very much what it looks like. It's material, when you open it, it feels like linen. It's soft, pliant. You can actually tear it with your fingers. It doesn't require scissors to cut. And the process that we put it through gives it some very particular capabilities that other hemostatics don't have. It's a very unique technology in the field of hemostatics. Next slide, please. How does it work? So you have a material that is a gauze. For all intents and purposes, it's 100% cotton gauze. When it comes in contact with fluid, it changes states. So when you lay it against blood, it comes in contact with blood, it changes from a solid to a gel. So complete changeover of states. That gel takes on dimensions, thickness, depth, and width. We call that the 3D gel matrix as it absorbs fluid, and it uses these mechanisms to control bleeding. First and foremost, it's its ability to absorb fluid. It's able to absorb 2,500% its dry weight, and it's actively absorbent for 24 hours. When you compare that to other hemostatics on the market, namely chitosan-based hemostatics and mineral-based hemostatics, for the intent of the conversation we're having here today, those materials don't even work by absorption of fluid. They work by introducing two things: a single active ingredient that has a single mechanism of action, and the unspoken mechanism, heavy, intense interwound pressure, because you're introducing several meters of gauze with chitosan-based hemostatics like QuikClot, or you're introducing in the same space multiple meters of material when you're using a chitosan-based hemostatics like QuikClot, or I'm sorry, Celox. We don't work that way. We work by converting into gel. That gel absorbs a huge amount of fluid, which means it does very well in the presence of high pressure bleeding and pooled blood. That absorption turns that product into a gel and leads to the next mechanism, which is adhesion. It sticks very well to the site of bleeding, even in the presence of high pressure bleeding or pooled blood. That gel takes on these characteristics as very similar to a human clot. So it sticks to mucous membranes, bony structures, muscle fibers, mesenteric tissue, wound margins, skin surfaces. So you have something that's very soft, very pliant. It behaves just like a human clot. The key feature here is when you take the patient to the next level of care and they go to remove the product to identify where the source of bleeding is coming from, it does not cause rebleeding. That's an endemic issue, by the way, with chitosan-based and kaolin-based hemostatics products like QuikClot and Celox, that they create what I term fragile hemostasis or rigid hemostasis. It's the difference between a soft and pliant clot and a scab. If you have a scab and you pick the scab off, what happens? It bleeds again. Same instance here. The other aspect of this, so if you're using combat gauze or Celox and you go to remove that material and the rebleeding starts, you very quickly have to remove the remainder of that material and start over with a fresh piece of those products to try to control bleeding. And usually rebleeds are significantly harder to control than the original bleed in many cases. With Woundclot, if you take the product out of the wound and bleeding happens again for whatever reason, you can take the clot you just took out of the wound and put it back in and hold it in place, and bleeding will be controlled again. Remember, the material's active for 24 hours. It absorbs and absorbs and absorbs fluid. So all you're doing is reintroducing the clot back into the wound. Very unique. So you have a material that converts from a solid to a gel, absorbs a huge amount of fluid, has superior adhesion capability. The next component is aggregation. And this goes along with absorption. When you take the liquid part of blood, blood is three big components: plasma, the liquid part of blood, white blood cells, and red blood cells. Those are the big components when you spin blood down. There's other things in there, but those are the big components. When you take the liquid part of blood and you convert it into a gel, you trap it inside of this gel, you do a few things. One, you create a condition called hemoconcentration, which means that you're concentrating all the important parts of blood inside of this gel, specifically platelets, clotting factors, and red blood cells. So now you've created the perfect environment for clotting to occur inside of the gel, the foreign gel of wound clot. From another perspective, we're not waiting for the human clotting cascade to occur. The clotting cascade is how your body creates clots when you're injured, right? In this instance, we're not waiting for that to happen. We create our own gel environment, our own clot, and then just trap blood inside of it in whatever state that's in. So again, you have something that changes states from a solid to a gel, absorbs a very large amount of fluid, has superior adhesion capabilities, aggregates all the important components of blood to create a stable clot. These are all mechanical functions, very simple mechanical functions. The last component, activation. That is another one of the very unique capabilities of wound clot, in the sense that we have found a way, as part of that molecular manipulation when we create wound clot, to stimulate clotting to occur. We're not going to get deep into the clotting cascade, but basically, when clotting occurs, think of it as a domino pyramid. You have one domino, then two, then four, then six, then eight. We kick over two of those dominoes. We stimulate two of the factors to go from inactive to active to rapidly form a very stable, very pliant clot. So you have three mechanical functions, one physiological function working together to create a very stable, very pliant clot. This is very unique in the world of hemostasis, because when you compare it to products like QuikClot, Combat Gauze, or Celox, those work on a single mechanism of action. Basically, they attract red blood cells to stick to the surface of their material, and that, along with their length, which creates heavy inter-wound pressure, is how they work. So a lot of things have to align in order for them to have the ability to form a good clot. The other aspect of that is training. It requires a heavy level of training in order for them to be able to use effectively. You'll see a video here shortly where a product is being used, Woundclot is being used to control a life-threatening bleed, and the person who's using it has little to no training, and he was able to control that type of bleeding. Next slide, please. Additionally, Woundclot does not require heavy adjunctive pressure to be effective. That means that if you're familiar with Combat Gauze and Celox, they require that you pack their product into the wound. First of all, you're supposed to identify the site of bleeding, right? And then you apply the product directly to the site of bleeding, never taking pressure off. Pack, 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 and then apply heavy body weight pressure for 3 to 5 minutes. Woundclot doesn't require that. As a matter of fact, Woundclot uses a much smaller piece of material because we don't work by pressure alone. Our biggest piece that we make is 100 centimeters long, a meter long. And that's because we work by mimicking a human clot. So when you apply it, you do not have to apply major pressure, what we call placement pressure, the weight of your hand. Or better yet, if you're in that pre-hospital point of injury environment, once you've introduced Woundclot into the wound, go on to the next logical step, apply a dressing. That's more than enough pressure required to have Woundclot do what it does. Secondly, it's its effectiveness in patients taking anticoagulant, antiplatelet therapies. Large segment of the population, especially those that are aging, are taking some sort of medication that slows or precludes them from having rapid clotting occur. Many of the products on the market today do not work well in the presence of these medications. Woundclot is not affected by their presence because we don't work solely on one mechanism, relying on an intact clotting cascade. So if you have patients that are taking blood thinners, or this also, by the way, extends to patients who have underlying hematological disease processes. So if you have a patient who's a hemophiliac, they're factor V Leiden, we're not affected by the presence of those disease processes. We will create a strong and stable clot. Lastly is patients in coagulopathy. And this is really defined as somebody who has some very severe injuries. Usually it's a multi-system trauma situation. They've had significant blood loss. Because of that blood loss, their body chemistry changes. They become acidotic. The loss of blood also contributes to the onset of hypothermia because of blood loss. Your blood works as a cooling and a heating mechanism as well. That acidosis also causes shock, which causes that decrease in body temperature. And this can happen in any environment, by the way. It doesn't have to be cold outside. I've taken care of patients in environments where the temperature outside was in the 38 degrees Celsius plus, and the patients were profoundly hypothermic. Wound clot's not affected by the onset of this condition. It works very effectively in those patients because, again, we're not relying on an intact clotting cascade in order to work. Next slide, please. Indications for use. Woundclot is indicated for the use for the temporary control of mild, moderate, and severe bleeding, irrespective of source. So if it's capillary, venous, arterial, mixed arterial venous, which makes a difference in large injuries, and how it comes in contact and works with hemostatics, we work in those conditions. It's also designed for operative, post-operative, and donor site bleeding as well. So we have a very wide scope of use as a product. In the UK, we have our Class 2B product, which is what you're seeing here for the use in pre-hospital environments. The same technology, same material is used in the operating room as a surgical product. Next slide, please. If you guys want to go ahead and load the video. This video is, while you do that, I'll go ahead and talk about it. This video that we're about to show you is a perfect example of Woundclot's capability and high performance. The gentleman who is applying this product is our CEO. I was supposed to be doing this demonstration, and unfortunately, I was not able to arrive on time when oh, thank you. Go ahead. And I'll explain it. Can you hear the music on your end, Keith? Here you have a transection of a femoral artery and somebody with little to no experience using an 8x100. You'll note that once he applies, normally you would apply pressure on video speed up right up. Once you've applied it, you notice that he doesn't apply any pressure. If you watch the timer at 50 seconds, it's a very fast video. I urge you to go on our YouTube channel and watch the video when it's in music stops. Okay, thank you, Keith. I'm sorry about that. The music kind of was a little loud there. If you want to see that video in real time, you can actually visit our YouTube channel. And it will show you from beginning to end the product being used. Again, the gentleman that's applying this has little to no medical training. I was supposed to be there doing this demonstration. Unfortunately, I missed a flight, so I wasn't able to do it. 10 minutes before the experiment here, the procedure, I walked him through the process, and he was able to introduce this without any issue and was able to control that bleeding in 50 seconds without the application of pressure. Now, I don't suggest you use Woundclot without the application of pressure because mentally it's something we already do. When you cut yourself in the kitchen cutting tomatoes, what's the first thing you do? Ow, you apply pressure, right? So it's autonomic for us to hold pressure on something. That's great. You can do that. Hold your hand there. Better yet, apply a dressing in a pre-hospital environment. But this is meant to illustrate the capability of the product, even with little training, to apply it and control major bleeds. This is what Woundclot looks like after it's been in contact with blood. If you notice, it looks just like a human clot, and that's because it is. Once it comes in contact with blood, it takes on the characteristics of whatever it comes in contact with. So Woundclot, in presence of blood, is going to turn into a thick, tenacious gel that behaves like blood in its gelled form, which is a human clot. So it behaves just like a human clot. Everything else on the market is an active ingredient, combat gauze, Celox. You introduce them into the wound. They attract red blood cells to stick to the surface of their, in the case of combat gauze, you're using a non-woven fiber, a paper gauze. It comes in contact with that gauze and sticks to the surface of that gauze. So, you're dealing with meters of gauze. Celox works in a very similar way. It attaches to the surface of the chitosan. So then you have to find yourself picking that product out of the wound. With Woundclot, you have something that behaves exactly like a human clot. It's very different to what's out there now. Also, when it comes to radio opaqueness, because now even Celox has a radio opaque strip in it, and that is because they were finding that that material, including combat gauze, was difficult to identify in radiology, x-rays. Woundclot behaves like a human clot, so it is a human clot in the presence of blood. So when you look at it under x-ray, it looks like a hematoma. So it doesn't require that radio opaque strip. Secondarily, the material itself is inherently bioresorbable. So if from whatever reason they use, they go to remove it and a piece of it ends up inside, it isn't going to create a secondary issue because it was designed to be bioresorbed by nature. Next slide, please. From an application standpoint, so my background's emergency medicine. I'm an ER nurse by trade. I practiced both pre-hospital military medicine, civilian pre-hospital, and then as a nurse working in a level 1 trauma center in the United States. I can tell you that those immediately life-threatening bleeds that combat gauze and Celox were designed for do not represent a high level of presence in the civilian sector. Case in point, the trauma center I worked in, we saw about 120,000 patients a year in a level 1 trauma center. And year over year, consistently, that immediately life-threatening large vessel involvement, multi-vessel involvement type bleed only constituted about 3 to 5% of our total call volume, right? And Woundclot excels, as you just saw in the video, excels at controlling that type of bleeding with much less material because of its properties. But think about all the other types of bleeds that you come in contact with on a day-to-day basis. People who get injured, they trip, they fall. The elderly patient taking blood thinners who trips and falls, and they get a 2-centimeter partial scalp laceration that bleeds like they have a 10-centimeter full thickness laceration. A small piece of Woundclot will take care of that. Nosebleeds, teeth avulsions. You think about all of these injuries that, from a nurse perspective, from an ER perspective, we call those the problematic bleeds because they're difficult to control and take time and cause the patient a lot of pain. Woundclot enables rapid sequence bleeding management. You can identify bleeding, apply Woundclot to it, and have a very positive, very quick management of bleeding. Okay, next slide, please. These are the available sizes for a Woundclot. Currently, we have our 8x100 is our largest piece. We have a 10x10, an 8x20, and a 20x30 large surface area pad. Consistently, globally, the product that gets used the most, yes, 8x100s are very popular because you can use them for those designated large bleeds, or you can use them with somebody who has multiple injuries, because you can actually tear pieces off of it and use it on multiple injuries on the same patient. But on a day-to-day basis, the most popular sizes that we use that I've seen over and over and over again is our 8x20. We've actually had 6 recorded saves with an 8x20. Our 4x4 for the majority, 8x20 and an 8x20 and a 10x10. I keep using the US sizes. Those two sizes will be able to control about 95% of the bleeds you come in contact with. The 8x100 is perfect when you have large bleeds, multiple injuries. The 20x30 is really designed where you have large surface areas that you have to cover for a first aid point of injury, aspect your 8x100, 8x120, 8x20, and 10x10 are your best sizes. To give you a size perspective, the package for the 8x100 is this big, or 8x20. This is my 8x20. I fold it into 3 and I carry in my wallet, and I believe Keith does as well, because this will control about 95% of what you come in contact with. This tiny little piece that I carry in my wallet. That's how high performing Woundclot is. Next page, please. When it comes to size selection, it's pretty straightforward. Mild to moderate bleeding, you can use our 10x10, which is marked as 4x4. Moderate to severe is everything else. So the majority of your bleeding that you're going to come in contact with, a 10x10 and an 8x20 will control that. The 8x100 is designed for those larger severe bleeds, or when you have multiple injuries that you're trying to control. Next page, please. We're going to get into the instructions for use. It's pretty straightforward. Like any other product, tear the package open. The package has multiple tear points all the way around it, so it doesn't matter which direction you open the package. The material is always going to be available. You can tear it with your teeth. It doesn't matter whether it's right side up, facing forward. It allows you to open it very easily and quickly. Next. The larger products, the 8x100 and the 8x20, have a folded pointed end on one side. And that's kind of designed to help you grab the material and pick it up with your prehensile fingers. That's great if you're able to do that. If you're in a situation where you're able to do that, it's not as emergent as things are, and you're pulling this out. But listen, I've seen people take it out of the package with the other side facing up, which just is a square end. It doesn't matter what side you use. We just do this to facilitate you being able to pick it up and use it to pack. Next slide, please. Now, normally, if you're familiar with combat gauze and cell locks, they require that you identify the site of bleeding, right? I'm left-handed, so I would use my non-dominant hand, my right hand, these 2 fingers, to reach into the wound and identify where the source of bleeding is coming from. I can tell you from personal experience that if you have a large injury or severe injury that involves more than one vessel, finding that blood vessel is going to be, or the source of bleeding is going to be almost impossible. As a matter of fact, the more time you spend digging around in the wound trying to find where that bleeding is from is less time that patient has. Every second that passes matters. So the idea here is get it into the site of bleeding, getting it towards the source of bleeding. You see blood coming from a wound, pack the product in there. You saw that in the video. I call it trash pack. Just take the product, start packing it, make sure it gets deep into the wound, and make sure it gets wet. With Woundclot, if it's wet, it's working. If it's dry, it's not doing anything. You want it to convert to gel and be saturated with blood. Next slide, please. Once you've introduced it, you can cover it with a lap sponge or a gauze pad, or use your hand to hold it in place. For me, the next logical step in the point of injury is you apply Woundclot to the site of bleeding and then put a dressing over it. That dressing is more than enough pressure to let Woundclot do what it does. On average, 30 to 90 seconds, depending on the size of the bleed, is what it's going to take to control bleeding. This does 2 things. 1, rapid management of bleeding control, and 2, it frees that first responder's hands, whether you're a civilian or a professional. It frees your hands to move on to something else, to another injury, to another injured person. Because if you're standing there and you're the sole responder and you're using both your hands to hold pressure for 3 to 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes is an eternity of time in when somebody's has a severe bleed. Next question. I'm sorry, next slide. Now, one of the things I'm going to talk about, let's say that you apply a dressing to the area post-application, right? You just put your hand on it, bleeding stops, you look, and then you apply a dressing. Let's say that you've applied Woundclot, and because nothing is 100% infallible, right? And you've applied Woundclot, and you lift your hand, or you see some oozing. Now, it's been my experience over the last 12 years that once you've applied Woundclot, you're not going to have uncontrolled bleeding continue. You'll have a massive decrease in bleeding. But let's say that you have some oozing occurring, right? Now, with every other product on the market, they want you to remove it. Celox and Combat Gauze specifically state to remove their product from the wound if bleeding continues and apply a new piece. And that is because their materials have an active ingredient that once it comes in contact with fluid or blood, it activates. Woundclot doesn't work that way. If you apply Woundclot to the site of bleeding and bleeding continues, apply more Woundclot on top of the existing gel, because all you're doing is increasing the volume of the clot. So you're just making a bigger clot form in the area, which is also very unique to Woundclot. Next slide, please. Removal is pretty simple. You irrigate the area, suction and wipe away the excess. And that's probably something you're not going to be dealing with. It's going to be, you're going to be dealing with that on the emergency side, or the doctor side will be doing that. The great part of Woundclot is it very seldom causes rebleeding. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, I just went through persistent bleeding and then removal. Sorry about that. Go ahead to the next slide, Keith. Okay, so this kind of wraps up my section. And by the way, this is our entire product line. Dark blue is our training gauze. You can use it with the True Clot trainers, which Keith will cover more extensively. There's veterinary product for your small animal, large animal. The sky blue color product is the surgical or hospital healthcare product. The yellow and the green product is what you're going to see for first responders, civilians, stop the bleed kits, trauma kits, those kind of things. Now let's open it up to questions.
One of them on there is, what is the expiry date on Woundclot? How does that compare with other products?
Woundclot, like every other product, has a 5-year shelf life. The difference with Woundclot when it comes to shelf life is this. One, the material is very robust. 5-year shelf life, temperature ranges for storage. Combat Gauze and Celox mark their packages, store at ambient temperatures. They don't tell you what the ambient temperature is. There's an ASTM standard for that. That's, help me out here, Keith, 45 degrees Fahrenheit to 77 degrees Celsius for Fahrenheit. So basically, I don't know what it is in Celsius, I'm sorry. Let's just say that basically they want you to store it in a cool, dry place, okay? That's great if you're storing it in a medicine cabinet or in a cabinet at home. But if you're carrying it in the boot of your car, if you're carrying it in a first aid kit that you're moving around in exposed areas, if you're constantly exposing the material to hot or cold, that degrades the material. Woundclot storage temperatures, as it's stated on the package currently, I believe is 40 degrees Fahrenheit to 95 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit, but we indemnify the product all the way out to 60 degrees Celsius. So if you store the material in an unair conditioned, direct sunlight environment, you're not going to damage the material. The other thing is environmental use that goes along with this. If you're using a product that has an active ingredient like Combat Gauze or Celox, those materials activate on contact with fluid. So if you happen to be in a rainy environment, a maritime environment, the lake, the river, the ocean, and the material gets wet, it becomes inactive, right? Woundclot, you can drop Woundclot in water, turn it into gel, and then apply that gel to the site of bleeding, and it will still create stable, rapid hemostasis. It's not affected by that, which is very different to every other product on the market.
The next one's, what's the difference between Woundclot trauma and Woundclot veterinary?
Veterinary? Okay, so the technology is all the same across the board, okay? The idea behind the veterinary product is it's packaged specifically for the use with animals, right? There's really no difference in the material or the technology. So if you happen to have Woundclot trauma and you have an animal that's injured, your dog, canine kind of a thing, you can use that product on that, and vice versa in a pinch. It's the same base material, just packaged for different market verticals.
Perfect. Next one's, if using the training gauze, and fake blood, will it still give an effective demonstration for the students on the course?
Yes, it will. If you're using the true clot trainers to begin with, they have their blood is designed to create clots with their true clot training gauze, which is supposed to be the analog for combat gauze. Both materials have something in it that when they come together, they interact and create a clot. Woundclot does that no matter what. So if you're using a true clot trainer or you're using another brand trainer with, a simulated blood of any kind, it's still going to turn into a gel and create clots.
The next two are similar, but I'll just do them one at a time. So where on the body should it not be used?
The great part about Woundclot is there's not many places you cannot use it. Combat gauze and Sublux require that you not apply it intrathoracically, intra-abdominally. Our instructions for use is if you can see bleeding, you can apply Woundclot there. If you're clearly able to see bleeding coming from an abdominal cavity, an open injury, you can apply it there. You're not going to make somebody worse off. Remember, Woundclot was designed to be a surgical hemostatic. Now, the common sense place is that you never apply anything. You don't insert anything in. Eyes, you never pack eyeballs or eye sockets in any way, shape, or form with anything. Not Woundclot, not QuikClot, Sublux, or even gauze, right? The other one is the skull cavity. If you happen to have somebody with an open skull fracture and they have bleeding, you can apply Woundclot externally, but you cannot apply it internally. You should not ever pack anything into a skull cavity for obvious reasons. If you introduce something, you're coming in contact with brain tissue, which can cause herniation and actually make the patient a lot worse.
The next one, you think you've pretty much answered it, really. It's talking about, not teaching using hemostats on head wounds because of exactly what you just said about the safety. So, what would you define the line difference between a head wound you could use Woundclot on and couldn't? Are we looking just at skin fractures rather than, anything more?
If you're using, you can use it anywhere on if you have any kind of head injury, as long as you don't have penetrating trauma where you can actually look into the skull. You have a hole in the skull that you can see gray matter in, or not even if you can't see gray matter and you see an obvious hole or penetration into the skull, you don't put anything of that in, not Woundclot, not anything. You can apply it over the site. Other than that, large avulsions or flaps, any kind of laceration, abrasions, Woundclot can be used effectively to control bleeding.
Can it be used and removed by a regular first aider?
Yes, you can, and that's actually a very good question because we have. I'll give you personal examples. My mother-in-law is on blood thinners, and she's the kind of person that if she walks by something and it just happens to wisp her, she will bleed. I've seen her just bump into a furniture innocuously that any of us who are not taking those medications wouldn't even probably notice. But she bumps into that and it causes a skin tear that bleeds severely. She keeps Woundclot with her at all times. She actually keeps it in a little Ziploc bag in her purse. She always has it with her. When she uses it, she applies it, holds it there for 30 seconds is what I've told her. The bleeding ceases. Usually she waits till she gets home if she's out and about, or otherwise she just goes to the sink and rinses it away and then applies a dressing over that to protect the open wound. So yes, a first responder, a civilian first aid provider can apply Woundclot and remove it effectively.
Next one's unique to the sort of rail industry and construction industry to a certain extent. They have currently 10x10s, and she says she has had concern on this. Is 10x10 big enough for sites like rail and construction? I know particularly, I think I know where you're talking about the customer here. It's to a certain extent cost-based as well. They're trying to put something that's relatively cheap in there. But, is 10x10 sufficient for injuries, or used in conjunction with the trauma dressing can be very good as well?
You can. And again, size selection of Woundclot is always going to matter on the type of bleeding that you're seeing. If you're encountering mild to moderate bleeding, there's a high probability your 4x4, your 10x10 is going to control that bleeding, especially if you're using it in conjunction with a trauma dressing, right? Because you're layering treatment modalities. Let's say you have an injury to an arm. You can apply wound clot either into the wound or on top of the wound and then wrap it with a dressing. That gives you a very high level of capability to control bleeding. Obviously, if you're going to take a 10 by 10 and you have somebody with major bleeding from a large vessel, then you're going to have some difficulty. Yes, wound clot will provide some level of hemostasis, but use the appropriate size for the appropriate type bleed. Moderate bleeding, mild to moderate, 10 by 10. Moderate to severe, 8 by 20 or 8 by 100.
I think I better answer this one. But do ambulance services in the UK use wound clot? Yes, we have got it. I know the Yorkshire Ambulance Service use it. Some there. It's different areas. One customer we've got, they transport people with serious problems, and injuries can happen all the time. And they find that wound clot's really good because they can get it on very quickly and then stabilise the condition with the patient further. Otherwise, yeah, they are used in others ambulance service. They are bought. It's often difficult for us to know where they go. I know they're definitely using them up there. But on from that cost, I'm going to send over all the costs to you after the webinar. They're all available on our website. But give you an idea, a 10 by 10, you're looking at £11.95 plus the VAT and £39, I think, for the Z fold at the top end. So, it's a very cheap option. The next main question was any contraindications or any issues with allergic reactions?
That's a great question as well. No, there isn't. We obviously, like everything else from a regulatory standpoint, we have the markings on the packaging or our boxes that stipulate specifically if an allergic reaction recurs, remove the product, rinse the area with saline. But I can tell you this, I've been here since day one. I helped design the product. So if we go back to the origins of the product, from that point forward, remember, we're a surgical implantable. It doesn't get any more invasive than implanting it into a human body. We've had over 1 million applications in the surgical realm without a single reported adverse event. We've never had a reported allergic reaction or adverse event with wound clot. So it's a very safe product to use.
Would it affect internal organs if used in the torso, or just clot the blood around it? Is it going to cause any problems if got exposed internal organs?
No, that's a good question as well. Thank you. No, it will not. Wound clot, again, was designed to be a surgical hemostatic first. When we started the project from inception, it was designed to be used in surgery, and it is. It's used in the entire spectrum of care. So lungs, heart, kidneys, liver, spleen, vasculature of every kind, including large diameter vessels like the aorta. It does not affect, the presence of the material does not affect the organ itself. It's designed to be a active hemostatic and nothing more.
Next one, the safety data sheet. I'll make sure that's circulated around everyone who's come on to here, and we'll directly make a note of that as well. And we'll also directly email it over to you as well. Why did you advise to wash the wound clot away from? Oh, was there. So why you said washing the wound clot away before the drip? When you said about your mum applying wound clot on, sorry, I misread that. So.
Like all class 2B hemostatics, they're cleared to be left in situ for up to 24 hours in place, and then they want you to remove them. In surgery, yes, it's an implantable. For pre-hospital point of injury, home first aid, we tell you to remove it because at the end, it's controlled bleeding. If you leave it in place, wound clot will behave just like blood does when it's exposed to air. It will turn into a scab. It will become hard and crusty like a scab, and you can leave it in place until it falls off and heals underneath, or you could just irrigate it, which will cause it to hydrate again, right? When you take a shower and you have a scab, water gets on the scab, what happens? It immediately hydrates again, it becomes soft, right? Same thing happens with wound clot. The reason why we tell people to take it off is you don't need it anymore. Once you've achieved hemostasis, by the way, there's no timeline here. As far as, how long, we tell you 24 hours, but let's say that you've applied it and 30 seconds later, the bleeding has stopped. you can then irrigate the area and remove it. You don't need it to be there anymore. So it's entirely up to you, but 24 hours is a standard rule from a regulatory standpoint. She removes it because normally what she does is she removes it. Now she has an open wound, so she'll apply some kind of, antibacterial ointment to the site, and then apply a certain kind of Band-Aid that she uses, or bandage that she uses that doesn't affect her skin.
Yeah, carrying on from that, I mean, I've cut myself many times, used Woundclot on it. If it's a minor cut, you're not going to be going to hospital with it. You're not going to be doing that, but it literally just stops bleeding. Similarly, using it on cuts, Deco, my old dog's claws back, and there we had a lot of trouble stopping the bleeding. So with the current dog, did exactly the same, but put Woundclot on there for, it wasn't that long, a few minutes really, and it did actually stop the bleeding pretty quick. So, it's one of those things. So in those instances, you would take it off and put a dressing on, or what you need to do. I think that is all. Oh, no, hang on. Sorry, there's another one here. The YouTube link and that, the videos on are already on. If not, we're going to push them all out onto the ProTrainings YouTube channels. If you're instructors, we'll also make sure they're on your instructor dashboard, so you've got direct access to it. There's also a lot more information on the Woundclot training site. If you're an instructor of ours, you can access that free from your instructor dashboard. And there's loads of videos we did of Woundclot there in different applications, the different types, the veterinary as well. And then we've got another question here. If I have a small area bleed and do not use all the Woundclot material, am I allowed to store the rest? Which is exactly what we were talking about before this webinar went on.
Exactly, yes. So, I from a regulatory standpoint, once you open the package, and let's say that you open a 8x20, it's the only thing you have on hand, and it's a minor bleed, and you tear a piece off and you apply it to the site of bleeding. If you're using it on yourself, what I always tell people, if it's self-use, it's for your own personal use. As I refer to my mother-in-law, she actually carries 10 5x5s around in a Ziploc bag, unsterile, because you're just using it topically. Okay. If you're using it in a professional manner, or if you're a civilian first responder, you are applying it to somebody else. If you have product left over, it's not like you're going to be, technically, you don't want to be carrying around a little zip top bag with leftover Woundclot, for months or even years to apply to somebody that you don't know. I don't recommend you do that. You can do it for personal use, but for official use, or if you're using it on one person and using it on another, I would suggest that you use what you have and then throw away the rest, and get smaller pieces like 10x10s.
Next one is, yes, this will be available to watch again later. We're going to put the entire podcast, including the HeartHero part, all on our blogs, and you'll have access to on the instructor dashboard for instructors watching this. But you'll also be able to see this through on our blog channels, and also the articles section on protrainings.uk. Someone's also put there that they don't use Woundclot on the South Coast Ambulance Service. We have noticed that a lot of ambulance services don't use hemostats. It's not a standard piece of kit on any of them, which is why we've got the fight to get it on there, because it can help them. But yeah, it's new. It's just taking time to get the product out there. So I think that's all of the questions there.
Let me get one more piece very quickly about the use in ambulances. A lot of agencies won't use hemostatics, and I have the same. I live in the United States. I'm in Dallas. Same thing will happen here in the United States, by the way. Many agencies won't use hemostatics for two reasons. One, cost. Two, the use profile. Combat gauze and Celox were designed for one type of bleeding. They were designed to be used on immediately life-threatening bleeding. And as I said, the civilian market, in the civilian sector, you don't see those kinds of bleeds very often. And in many cases, agencies will just say, you know what, we don't see that a lot. We don't need the product. What I'm seeing a lot of in agencies is once they start to understand and they think about the problematic bleeds, nosebleeds, teeth avulsions, patients taking blood thinners. And many of these patients, by the way, are repeat customers, which means the local ambulance service will see the same patient again, sometimes 2 and 3 times a week. I'm here to tell you from personal experience. When I was on an ambulance decades ago, I would have a patient that had intractable nosebleeds. We'd be at his house 3 times a week, sometimes in the middle of the night. He didn't want to go to the hospital. He wanted us to fix it right there so he didn't have to go. This gives you that capability. And as more agencies understand that about how wound clot works, the more and more you're going to see them being used.
Brilliant. I think that is all of the questions on there.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, I mean, thank you very much for that. It will obviously put all this onto the different platforms we have, and we'll notify everyone who's logged onto the webinar anyway on this side. So you can have a look at that back at any time. We put the data sheets, and also we'll have a chat shortly about some offers we got. If you're watching the webinar, we've got some special deals for you, and 6 sets and kits and that. But thank you very much, and but I know you've got a very busy day today, so we'll move on to the HeartHero stuff. But thank you very much, and we'll carry on. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great. So we just before we come to James and the HeartHero side, I just wanted to just go through a couple of bits. Here we go. So we use TrueClock quite a lot. Some of you have seen these simulators on our sites and videos and that already. So what we're doing, these are sort of different ones that they're much more flexible. The one on the top right there is actually a bullet wound. So when you put your fingers in, you actually feel the broken bone in there. So it's a real good injury. And we've used these a lot in the large contracts in our trauma training, and they work very, very well. It makes it a very good visual lesson for people. And we do different cuts, the leg sections, the smaller one on the top left. There's trainers for using with chest seals, inguinal trainers, tourniquet trainers, things like that. So there's loads of information now on the sites as well. And what we're doing as part of this is 15% off. So with the offer prices on here, they're available till next Monday night. But you need to give us a ring because they're not on the website. They're specials for you guys. And it's 15% off this. And if you phone, just go through the supplies number, ask to speak to Kelly, he's probably the best one, or drop an email through to supplies@protrainings.uk. And then what we can do is pop you over an invoice and we can give you the discount on them. The other one with trauma generally, those of you who are teaching responder type courses, we do have a 10-second triage kit now. And again, there's a video on that on how to use that. It works very, very well. It's a very practical exercise that people can use in the classroom. If you want, we can send you a video on how to use it. So we've got that as well available, and it's a very good tool. It's very hard to teach that in a practical manner. And then also the Norse Rescue range. This whole range, there's different loads of about 70 odd products we stock. So there's again discounts on this one. And also, you've got discounts through with the ProTrauma website. So you can actually get onto that website, register if you're an instructor. There's a set discounts with that as well. Just go to protrauma.co.uk or just give us a shout on supplies line and we can go through that with you as well. So what we're going to do now, hi there, James. So thanks for being patient. Overrun a bit. But we now want to move on to the HeartHero AED. Now, we've been very excited about this product. It's an AED, a small, very, very versatile unit. It's got all the features. I mean, I like things with lots of features to it, and this has got all of them. It's got the whole set. So what we'll do is we go through it. Also, we've got some offers again at the end of this, and then we'll cover some last little bits after we've done the presentation here. But we want to really go through just a little bit about it. So, what the unit is. So if I call the PowerPoint up, Jay, I know we did slightly different on the practice this morning, but it's pretty easy if I just do it this way. I'll call the PowerPoint up, and then if you want to kick off with your bit. So,
of course,
be about there. So, welcome.
So, thank you, everyone. My name's James. I'm here to talk about the Elliott device. I'm the International Sales Director for HeartHero. I am based in the UK because the main market we're focused on right now is the UK market. And I'm just going to talk through the Elliott device. Just a really brief overview. We're not going to go too in depth because I know there's plans to do another session on the device in the future. If you can go to not this one, the next one, that'd be great. So this is a quick reference guide. So you, for those of you who are lucky enough to have had one already, you might see, and you'll be able to see it, but on the inside of the box, when you open it, is a brief overview of the product and a guide. It has changed slightly since this one was made, but I'm going to talk through what you will see on the front of the device in terms of the icons that flash up on the screen itself. So we'll start off with the obvious one, the green one, which is the power button. That has one function, that turns the device on and off. If you press it once, the device will switch on. If you press it and hold it, it will switch the device off. There is a Bluetooth icon in the top left of this screen on the device itself. Now, the Bluetooth icon will flash when it's trying to connect to the application, and it will go solid once it's connected to the application which comes with the device. You also see an EMS icon. Unfortunately, this part of the application is currently disabled, so you will not see this flash up on the device because it's not functioning, but it will be a future feature on the device and the application itself. Yeah, excellent. So the caution light will come on if there is an issue with the Elliot device, and the easiest way to find out what is wrong with the device is to press the information button. Now, the information button has two functions. It's one of three buttons on the right hand side of the screen. It shows left on this one, but it is on the right side of the screen on the device itself. The information button has two functionalities. So if you press it once, it will tell you the status of the device. If you press it and hold it, it will flash up the Bluetooth icon ready for pairing with your application. The language button is the next one down. Currently, there are two languages on the device, both English and Spanish. And if you press the button, it will change from the first language to the secondary language. And again, if you press it again. Child button is self-explanatory. Press the child button, it allows you to go into child mode. It reduces the energy levels down to 50 joules, and it means that you don't have to change your pads. You can use the same pads for adults and pediatrics. Okay, so the obvious thing on the front of the device when you see it is this big red handle on the front. There are two ways of switching on the device. So pressing the green button will power on the device, but pulling the red handle will also power on the device, and you'll be able to access the pads which are underneath. Now, that icon will flash to indicate that that's what you should do. The next icon that will flash is the separate pads icon, which will be flashing away as you carry out your treatment, and it will tell you to place pads on the patient when you're at that stage. Once you're at that stage, it will then move you on to the next icon, which will flash on the front of the device. It's also a pediatric icon for placing pads on the patient too. So if it is in pediatric mode, this icon will flash instead. And it will then inform you to perform CPR. It will say start CPR. There will be audio prompts. There's also visual. So there's visual and audio prompts on the device when performing CPR. This is the icon that will flash up when it's instructing you to perform CPR. And the icon below is the icon that will flash when it's analyzing the patient and determine whether that patient needs a shock or not. So let's quickly walk through how the device works. And I'm going to ask Keith to go, once we get past 2, to go to the next slide, then back again, because this is actually taken from a leaflet, as you can see, and it's a little bit out of sync. So apologies for that. So first thing to do is check patient status. And then, as we said earlier, pull the red handle or press the green button to power on the device. Then expose the bare chest, open the pad pouch, and peel the pads from the blue liner. And then follow the instructions on the device. So if you just pop back to the next one. So just back one. Yeah, so it goes to 5 on here. So apologies for that. So then it talks about placing the pads on the patient's chest, adult and pediatric. And if you go forward, so then you listen to the device. Now, the device itself has got really clear instructions and prompts in terms of the process, but it also has a metronome. And it does give you clear guidance on, it gives you prompts to push harder, push in the center of the chest, but it also has a metronome which guides you in terms of rhythm, and that's set at 107 beats per minute. The contact in the EMS, it does advise you to contact EMS, but it will not contact EMS for you. A little bit about maintenance of the device. Now, it is a very low maintenance device, as most AEDs are. The device takes 4 of these very small Duracell batteries, CR123 batteries, which are used in other AEDs, and they have to be changed every 3 years. And pad placement and pad cartridge replacement. So this needs to be done every 5 years, unless the device has been used. They do come in a cartridge format. So you'll see they're very plug and play. You slide the old cartridge out, unplug it, plug the new one in, and slide the cartridge underneath until you hear it click, and then push the red handle over, and the device is ready to operate. Now, earlier I talked about the application, and this is what really sets Elliott apart from other AEDs in the industry. The app itself is not a necessity. So the device itself is a standalone device. You do not have to have the application for the device to work. It will operate as any other AED independently on its own. The application is a bonus or a feature that enables you to monitor the device. Unfortunately, it's only available on the iPhone and iOS system currently. We have got plans to put it onto the Android system later this year. But what this allows you to do is not only enables you to monitor your device in terms of battery and pad power, battery power and pad readiness. It also allows you to see system checks. So periodically, it will check in to say that the device is okay. It will share the location. It will check that the battery pads are in date and that the system is okay. You do have to have a signal. It is a cellular device, so it does connect to the LTE network. And this varies in each region. So we recommend that you check your signal. However, we do have a backup. So the device connects, as I explained earlier, on Bluetooth. And connecting it on Bluetooth also updates your pads and battery and status and location. Not only that, it's the first application and device that gives you quick and easy accessible clinical data. So you'll see the third screen in on this presentation, or the third screen in on this particular slide, shows you a waveform, an ECG that you can easily transfer to clinicians or colleagues should they request it. So you go into the treatment section of the application. It will show you the waveform of the ECG, and you can transfer that into a PDF format, and then you can send that on a PDF format via WhatsApp or email to your colleagues or the EMS service. And it's really groundbreaking because there's no other device on the market that has easy, accessible data like this that you can share immediately. You can also share users on the application, so you can add users, so friends and family can also keep an eye on the device. Or if you're a group or a team and you have several devices, you can share each other's devices. There's also training information, and great things like the technical manual and user manual are also in the application. So it's easy to get the application. You can go onto the Apple Store now and download the application for free. You do not have to have a device to download it. So you can download it now. You can set up an account, and then you can access all the features like the videos, the technical manual, the user manual, etc. It's easy to do. So you just tap create an account and you're ready to go. When you do get an Elliott, which I hope you all do or already have, you may know it's really easy to set up your Elliott just by holding down the information button, that will make the Bluetooth icon blink. You press connect Bluetooth in the application and the device will sync. And once you're set up, as I said earlier, you can see your device status. The three colors that you need to be focused on really are the green, yellow, and red. If it's gray, there are no notifications. If it's green, it's ready to go. If it's yellow, it may mean that the pads are about to expire or the device needs attention. And if it's red, it's probably because it hasn't checked in for a while. So it may mean that the device hasn't got a signal. No need to panic. All you need to do is connect it via Bluetooth, synchronize the data, and you'll be green and ready to go. Okay, so there are some cautions and warnings that come on in the with the device itself. The main one you need to focus on here is the batteries and pads must be replaced after each use on a patient. So I know this is going to be on the end of your presentations, Keith. If you want to have a quick talk through this.
Talk about this slide, then we come to the questions. We put it on there because HeartHero is so different, because there's lots and lots of other benefits with it, and we've changed the types of AED slide that's on the PowerPoints on the courses to reflect this. So they are different. Some of the key things with it are the fact that you can go down to a much better temperature range than any other of the AEDs on the market. So it's a much better, going down to -20 +50. It's IP66 rated. I think some of the key things with it are that you have got this data. As you said, the data transfer is such a crucial thing, because you need to be able to get that. You don't need to find USB sticks or other ways of cables, or the other one, even infrared on some of them are changing. The sharing the device is good. I mean, one question back to you, James, on that, just to clarify, is there a maximum number of people, for example, I could share my AED with, or is it literally that anyone could share that AED data?
Yeah, there's no limitation to who you can share it with, and there's no limitation to the amount of devices a single person can also have on the application. So if you've got a team of 10, let's say, or you've got 10 devices in your company, you can monitor them all from one application.
So if any of your instructors you're teaching, you haven't yet got an Elliott, then if you want to share the data, so you've got real data to show your students, you want to see my unit, absolutely no problem with that. You can see that. So if you do want that, just email us and we can get that added on. But please don't email support at. Just email me, keith@protrainings.uk, and I'll get that added on if you want some real data on that. It's working very well. I mean, the pad life and the battery life is brilliant on it, which has worked really, really well. So coming on back to a question, I'm a little bit out of order here, but the lifespan of the AED is one question on that side. It is recommended that you change AEDs after a sort of 10-year period and things like this. I think if you've got an AED unit and you're keeping it for 10 years, then technology is going to change over that period of time anyway. But I think I'm really answering the question myself here, really. But you do need to change the pads and bits and pieces. But the physical element of a HeartHero, is there a recommended time that would last for?
So the device has a 6-year warranty. So that's what it comes with, a 6-year warranty. But with all modern electronics, the components that we use in the device are often warranted for a lot longer. But we have a 6-year warranty on the device. As you said, technology does move on pretty quickly. I can't remember which phone I had 10 years ago. Don't know if anybody else could, but it certainly wasn't an iPhone 14 or 15. It was definitely an older one, which probably wasn't as efficient or didn't work as well as the one I have now.
I think my first one was the brick that you carried around with you that weighed the size of a shoebox. And I'm showing my age here with that one. The other one is there's a couple of questions on the diagrams of the pad placement on the actual device. I think I've probably answered it before. I know where you're coming from with it on pad placement. It's a diagram to show where the pad is. You've got majority of AED units out there at the minute have incorrect pad placement. If you really look at what it is, because they're already pre-printed and they're going to be in there for a while. The other one here is the cost of the pads and the battery. Now, the pad costs are what we got here. So £109 plus the VAT for a pad cartridge, and that's every 5 years. So if you're looking at a unit over a 10-year span, that's not a lot of money to pay and out £109. Batteries, the Duracell 123 or CR123 batteries. I mean, you can buy those from Amazon, Tesco's, us, whatever. I mean, they're I think around about £10 for a set of batteries, something like that. Is that about right, James?
Yeah, so you can buy 10 for like £33, which is, it seems a lot, but they mostly come with a 10-year shelf life, the batteries themselves. So even if you buy 10, you could probably keep them for the lifespan of the device itself if you need to change the batteries over periods of times. I just wanted to circle back quickly to the pad placement thing. We always say follow your local guidelines in terms of pad placement, because they do vary and they do change. But if you follow your local guidelines, then you probably can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's good. And where the training is, you'll be doing training on that level. Question about the pediatric setting. Does it follow the 5-15-2 algorithm? Remember, an AED is running on shock every 2 minutes. So yes, you would carry on doing all of your pediatric stuff. It wouldn't make any difference at all. It's not telling you to do the breath, so it's not directly following that. It's just following the so you can do continual chest compressions, and it's a fully automatic AED unit on that side. So as for the pads, would you be able to see on the app the exact location when it was taken by the first round? So does it actually record a GPS setting when it's actually activated?
Yes. Yeah. So as long as the device has got a signal, it will send that location, and that location will be on sorry, I'm just trying to see if I haven't, but on the actual PDF ECG that you produce, the longitude and latitude is on that also, so you can identify where it is.
What is the exact? What was the weight of the units? And
680 grams. So in terms of portability, it's very small. It's a very small device. It's 15.8 by 15.8. Can't see it there, but yeah, it's a very small and portable device. And at 680 grams, yeah, it's probably one of the lightest AED on the market currently.
For those, because if you've got the background, can't always see it. Well, that is the physical size of it. It's literally that small. So we found this sort of unit goes inside. We do it inside a pack like this to hit where you wear on your belt, and also cabinets. You can put this on the back end of the car, like behind the headrest. Literally pull it away on Velcro. We found it goes into kits like this, the Lifesaver kit, which is an AED and a bleed kit. So on the size side, they are very small, very easy to use. Next one is, when is the Android version available? Roughly, we won't hold you to it because I know these things do vary.
We're trying to get it available by the end of this year. It's currently in development. Just takes a bit of time to get it right.
And those, I've already said to people about digital certificates on the Pro system. Putting stuff onto the Android system is difficult compared with an Apple system. So we'll bear with them. They will get it there as soon as it is possible. What's the maximum number of shocks that can be delivered in one set of batteries?
So it depends on how you look at it. So the device itself and the batteries, the capability of the batteries versus the capacitor, it will charge a capacitor 120 times. But in reality, you have to include the product is actually running. It's analyzing, it's doing other things apart from charging the capacitor. So it will deliver over 20 shocks comfortably. But we've had ones that have been on test and delivered 65 shocks. But in reality, if you're delivering 20 shocks, you'll be doing CPR for 40 minutes. So you have to think about, is that a realistic scenario?
Next one, is there a trainer unit for it?
Currently, no. So we are again, we're focused on getting the AED itself right and in the market and in use. It is very simple. The application has training videos which also show you how to use the device, and there are some really good generic training models out there, and it is a fully automatic device. So there's really not much else to do apart from put the pads on, press the power on button, put the pads on, and let it do its thing.
Yeah, we were suggesting the generic trainer that we've got, which is quite a low-priced AED trainer. It works very, very well. We've also filmed and they're all done. We're just literally getting the videos coming through now. There will be a training course on the HeartHero that we've produced. We're just getting the videos down. We're just going to pop those over to HeartHero first to make sure they're happy with them. But we've literally had the first 4 or 5 back. So within the next, hopefully, week or 2, you'll see videos on it as well. And we're also going to build in scenario training videos with the unit. So, if you want to use those videos in the classroom, you'll be able to download those straight from the video section on the instructor dashboard, and you can use those in the classroom. They would just be the base scenario, or there'll be videos without sound, because we don't need sound because you're the instructor. You do the talking. You don't want my voice over it or any other thing. So, and you can pause them and things like that as well. So we're going to increase the amount of resources that are available to you as instructors. So yeah, very interested to have this is a Android user. Yeah, the Apple side, again, we sort of covered that earlier on, but it is going to be available on the Android side. But Apple, if you've got an iPad, does it work on the iPad okay, the same as it would, or is it just the iPhone?
It's just the iPhone currently. We are looking at extending it out to the MacBook on the iPad. It's just that the format's slightly different, so we need to get that right first. But just on that, as a standalone AED, it's still a very good AED in terms of its size, weight, and capability.
You mentioned back of local guidelines. I mean, obviously, we're talking local guidelines, and you're talking to someone international-wise. We're talking about the UK Resus Council guidelines, not regional guidelines.
Yeah.
It's purely, obviously, from James's point of view, it is the local meaning local, as in your country. We're not talking any regional guidelines here with that point. Yeah. Cost of the pads, we said already, they were £109 plus the VAT. I thought we might get this question. Yeah. So the difference between this, obviously, we did use the CellAid as a previous unit. What we always wanted with CellAid is actually all available with the HeartHero. The key difference with this is you've got all the features right now. It's also the 150 dual unit. We're not talking about any different waveforms with this. Exactly the same waveforms would be used on any other of the major AD units out in the market.
Yeah, so we've this device is not CellAD. It's far better. We haven't, we've been around since 2016. It's not something that's been developed quickly. It hasn't got a fancy new waveform. It's proven technology that we're using. We're using a proven technology in terms of the internals of the device, but we're also using a proven waveform in the Philips waveform, which is 150 joules fixed and 50 joules for pediatrics.
Cost per unit, £598 plus VAT. So it's literally one of the cheapest ones on the market. Is the cheapest one on the market without a doubt. Obviously, the discount we'll talk about in a second for people on this webinar. Went to someone recently, as someone at our archery club, was setting up a community AD unit, and really there with the HeartHero and an external cabinet. We're selling at just under £1,100 plus the VAT. When you look at the price of that as a cabinet for community world, and you don't need to necessarily hook up electrics, things like that, it's a very effective one. And also, we're finding it's very good in vehicle type applications, works vans, emergency procedures, railway lines, stuff like that. Someone got stuck in the traffic. You will be able to catch up with it all. I know if you've been stuck in traffic, you wouldn't have heard me earlier say, yes, it's available on video. Just give us a little bit of time, because Nick's down in Devon at the minute. He'll edit the video out before we actually put it live on the system, but you will get it there, and we'll put an announcement out for that. How many dual shock is it running with on the adult settings?
So 150 for adults and 50 joules for pediatrics.
Yep, one for me. Will you have some at the conference later this year? Absolutely, yeah. We're doing a major thing on the HeartHero at the conferences. We've got one in Birmingham in beginning of October. Have a look at the website. So probably we're hounding you over it. And then there's a culture one later on as well. And also we're going to be looking at the integration between bleed control and AED units. So yes, they will be covered at the conference, and we'll work through those there as well. We've covered the things. Someone's saying, well, sell aid was £330, right? But there was a subscription. All right. So when you're looking at the costings on this, if you had a HeartHero for 5 years, it costs you £598. If you had a sell aid for 5 years, it's going to cost you would have cost you £330 plus £130 per year. So this is significantly cheaper. It's an awful lot. Another question here, is there an annual cost? No, it's really just the cost of the pads and the batteries. So that works fine. And again, you've already answered this one as well, but the same dual for pediatrics and adults? No, you said that. That's already split off differently there. I think that's all of the questions we've got there. Thank you, James.
No worries.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being on this. Any other pop? I'm just going to cover some other bits and pieces just quickly in some of the offers we got on the units. But yeah, thank you very much for that. But just sort of continuing on, just so we can sum up, switch over to this. Obviously linking in with these. So if anyone wants practice band mannequins, we're just doing a 15% off for everyone on the webinar. Again, if you email supplies@protrainings.uk, we'll give a ring and speak to Kelly. We'll give it, if you want more mannequins, it's a good way round, and it's training. And also, if you're interested in the trainer, not the trainer of this, the generic trainer I referred to, that's also available, and we can help you out with that. And afterwards, we'll send an email out to everybody. With the HeartHero, what we're doing, people, the reason with the pricing is there's not massive margins on these, because the whole idea of this whole project is to keep the cost down. But we're offering £50 off the price, which is the expat price. So effectively, it's £60, including VAT. £10 off the case and £10 off the pads if you wanted any of those. So it's a good time to actually get hold of the HeartHero. If you want that, you can have that discount. But again, contact us about that. And just before I just finally close off in a second, I just want to just quickly mention this for the instructors out there. The Benedict's Law Training, Allergy Awareness. These courses are live now. We're just waiting for the PowerPoint, which should be done at some point next week. I think this could be a massive area for instructors. There is an upgrade, which is where you would go on and you would be logged in as an instructor, put the course in your cart, the Allergy Awareness Level 3 for schools, and you then do the course, £75 plus the VAT, and then once you've done that course, you then get the instructor rating of it. We will do a lot of work with this, and we'll also be talking quite a lot of this about on the conferences as well later on. And the other thing we are just running through with kits at the minute and bits and pieces, we're incorporating these into obviously we spoke about bleed kits earlier. You can have own branded bleed kits if you want them. We're also launching a commission-based system for HeartHero, like we did with the Cell Aid days. It's going to be around about the £40 mark per sale. What we just need to do is just work out how we did it before. There will be a basic registration form you'll fill in. So if you're interested in offering these through to your customers, now you can buy them from us and sell them to your customers. If you're not VAT registered, that's going to be a very expensive exercise. It won't really work. So having a commission is better. So either let us know who wants it and we can invoice them directly, or what you can do is register and then get the person to log in, be logged into our system, or use your standard code, your UK- code, or whatever your code is on the system. That way it produces a report. We know who's bought the systems, and then we'll notify you, and then you send us an invoice, and we do it that way, the same way as we do commission and all the others. So lots of other bits, we need to run through. So this is the last question about the anaphylaxis, the allergy one. What we're trying to do with the anaphylaxis and allergy awareness is, it is a set course, and it's talking about allergies in a bit more depth than a standard anaphylaxis course. So we are running through with that as a standard process to make sure that everyone's talking about the same thing when they're teaching that program. The allergy awareness is coming soon in September. I think that the sheer number of people who are going to need this course They can have it as video e-learning. You can make your 40% on that, or teach it in classroom as well. So that's all available, and there'll be a blended version as well for it. So yeah, it's the actual course you're doing is the provider course, and then you get all the materials back on that. It's one of our upgrade systems that we do at the minute. Obviously, if you do that upgrade and you haven't already got anaphylaxis awareness training, you'll automatically get that. But just drop an email to compliance that, and we can add that skill. Just send us over the copy of the certificate if you need that as well. So yeah, if you want to get the affiliate links to that one, there'll be a form being sent out to you very soon. If you want any of the lower prices, again, let us know. If you want any questions that you've not asked now and you think about, then just drop us an email. We can get that answered for you. And we can hopefully get up and running. So we're saying about sending a link for the course. If you go to protrainings.uk/courses, put in there the word allergy, and you'll see the course details there, and it will all pop up there for the e-learning based course. But if you're buying it for the instructor upgrade, make sure you're logged in as an instructor first. That's the way you'll get the rating on it. And don't call our support people tomorrow and say there's no PowerPoint, because it's not there just yet. It will be very, very soon. I just need to finalize it over tomorrow, and we'll get it tidied up early part of next week, and then that'll be up and running. So there's lots of other new courses you've seen that we've put through recently, from allergy to driving and health and safety and all sorts of others. And we're doing quite a bit of filming on Friday at Fire Training College as well. So those of you into health and safety and fire training, that'll be there. But you'll have a course on the HeartHero. You'll have a course. There's already a course on the Woundclot that is available already on the instructor dashboard as a free course. Yeah, so I'm looking around for nods on heads. That's it. It should be. So yeah, if you want to learn more about Woundclot, go for that, and it shows you all the bits and pieces there. And hopefully that's answered all of your questions. But if not, you can always drop us an email, and we will let you know when the video is done and ready for this program, the courses, and send all the other information to you. But in the meantime, thank you very much. And thank you very much for both of you doing the presentations on there as well. And if you have any questions you think you wish you had have asked, you want me to forward those on, again, just let me know and I'll get that sorted out. But Woundclot as well. I didn't put a slide up on the discount on that, did I? Was there a slide on discount Woundclot? Yeah, sorry, I just realized I forgot one of the discounts on there. But I must have stopped there a bit earlier. No, it isn't. Oh, so we've got that. Yeah, there's discounts on Woundclot as well. 20% off Woundclot, I think it is. So yeah, just again, let us know on that one. And we also do a training kit for Woundclot, so that you can have like literally a pack of each and the training gauze. The training gauze will last you a long time in your lessons because you're just tearing a bit off. And what I tend to do is tear a bit off. You might have seen this at the conferences. Put it on the back of your hand and put water on and show them what it actually looks like. And as it's sort of sitting down here now, I've got it. These physically what the true clot stuff looks like. So they're injuries, but they're very soft, pliable. If you did the conference last year, you might have had a play with these as well. And they're very good for practicing on wound stuff that you need. Yeah, anything else you need to know, get in touch. If we close, just check no other questions. No, there's not. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending. If there's anything else you need to know, then please get in touch with us. And we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. And there will be a more in-depth one on HeartHero once we launch all of the courses, which will be, hopefully, we'll get those HeartHero courses live within the next couple of weeks. Thank you very much. Bye.